I grew up in an Italian neighborhood in South Philadelphia, went to a Quaker prep school, and when I was 18, I moved to Osaka, Japan to study martial arts with the masters. This is the amazing story of what I learned and the people I met along the way. But it's also the story of an 18th century samurai named Shoken and how he learned the ultimate secret of the martial arts from his cat.
This ought to be warmed up.
Perfect. Okay. No, I think we're good. I just want a little fill back there.
Yeah.
That's perfect, yeah, because otherwise it's a little haunted housey.
Yeah. No, that's probably more accurate than not.
Nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you. I forgot.
My name is Patrick Gorman. I've been training in Aikido for 32, almost 33 years. Started out with Segal Sensei and Matsuoka Sensei when Matsuoka was a Ushideshi for Segal Sensei. But we've talked about this before. Right?
Yeah, so I guess, I really honestly, there's so many questions I want to ask you. I know you have such a wealth of information. I guess my first question is, how did you come to practice Aikido?
How did I come to practice it? Well, over the years, I trained in a lot of different martial arts. But I was ranked somewhat in judo when I was in France, but I was never in one place long enough or had enough money to train. But I trained in judo first, and then some karate and jiu-jitsu and kendo, even kenjutsu and European fencing, and even some savate when I was in France.
So let me ask you a question. What was the first martial art you practiced?
That was judo.
And what year was that?
Oh, 1953, probably.
And so judo, and this was in France, you said?
No, I first had some training in Hollywood, actually, when I was coming up to train I was in the Navy. I joined the Navy when I was 17.
Okay.
I was still in high school. Instead of going on active duty, they put me in the reserves so I could finish high school, and I had to go to weekly training. Anyway, I found out about it, but I only took a few lessons at that time. Then many years later, when I was in the Army, another story, I was in France. I was in Germany, but I was in France after I got discharged from the Army, and I wanted to train in a martial art. And there was one of the guys that I knew, a special, a French Foreign Legionnaire, was a black belt in judo, and he trained with Parizet, who was a champion, a judo champion, French judo champion from the Olympics, and it was a good dojo. And it was really hard. It was really tough. And I'd already trained by that time I trained in I trained a little karate, but I mean, when I say trained, it's almost a euphemism. I mean, 3 or 4 classes is all I did.
Okay.
So the judo, I only trained about a year and a half, and at the same time I also trained in European fencing because I could use that on the stage, and that was one of the reasons.
So you were already acting then?
I started acting at the age of 4.
Okay.
So I've always known that that's what I wanted to do, and this is some trivia that it blew me away. Someone asked me, well, how many stage performances have you done? We want to put this on your website. And I started calculating. 13,800 plus stage performances. That's not all theater. Some of it was nightclubs and things, but You know, I've been performing as a performer, an actor, and dancer. Early on, I was a dancer as well. That's amazing. I mean, 90 some odd television shows and 55 films. Now, not all those television and all those films were produced. They were filmed, but they were never released.
Yeah.
So it doesn't show on my IMDb that much, but it's quite substantial.
So I was just thinking, so 13,800. So say it's 14,000, and there's 300 days in a year.
And there's 8 performances a week.
Say 1,000. 1,000 would be 8 performances a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait. So is that times you actually strode the boards, or is
actually those were performances? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's like.
That's one a day for 13 years or 14 years.
Yeah. And I'm 82, and I started at the age of 4 was my first performance. That was only one performance in that theater, but then there were other. Anyway, we're getting off.
This is.
But it's physical. You know, I've always been a physical person, and as a child, since I grew up in a dance school, and I was in the San Joaquin Valley, where it's a real, I don't want to say redneck, but little boys don't dance, especially in those days. So practically every day after my lesson in the neighborhood, I had to go out, I had to fight. I got picked on mercilessly. And the first time I saw a war movie and the Japanese were doing some judo, I said, "What's that? I got to learn about that." My father had already kind of helped me with what to do about fighting.
Now, was that the James Cagney film?
Yes.
And he's on a ship, right? He's Navy.
Yeah. Well, I saw that afterwards, but I'd seen one film like Back to Bataan or something where a Japanese soldier jumped out of a tree and landed on the guy. They struggled and he flipped him over his back, and I said, "Oh, I got it. What is that?" So, and then the James Cagney film, yes, I said, "Oh, wow." But there was no place where I was living. There were no martial arts dojos of any kind. So, but we came here to Hollywood almost every year to train and dance, and I did too. And then I started to discover that that existed. But it's back then, there weren't a lot of dojos. Mm-hmm. I don't think. Certainly not that I remember. And
then I think there was it Manchurian Candidate with Sinatra doing karate?
You know, I don't remember that. I remember the film, but yeah, it could be. But anyway, that's implicit in the movies. After a certain point, you'd see, you know, The Green Hornet was a series back when I was a kid, but I didn't watch. We didn't have television until I was away from home and married the first time. So that's how far that goes. But so I was always interested in it, and you were talking about how you felt about Aikido, that you felt knew more about it when you started, and the more you trained. I think that's really interesting, because what I learned in the beginning with Aikido, I saw a demonstration. I saw O-sensei, someone had taken a video, a really bad one. And it was interesting. Then I saw Segal put on a demonstration somewhere. Either it was on film, I can't remember, but I said, man, I saw an advertisement in North Hollywood, and he had a dojo. And this was back before he. So you had heard of Aikido by seeing an filmed O-sensei demo. Yeah, but very brief. Yeah. I mean, and it was. You've seen those. You can hardly tell what they're doing. Yeah, it was interesting. Then, fairly quickly after that, I saw an advertisement for Segal. For Segal's dojo, and I went to the dojo because I figured I was close to 50 at that time, and I said, I want to train in a martial art. I'm here. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I've been around the world, and I'm staying here. And I went and watched, and I said, that's for me.